Hello and welcome to the Jocelyn Moore Show. I'm your host, Jocelyn Moore, and as always, we're here to inform, inspire, and entertain with dynamic conversations that matter. Today, we focus on equipping our children with the inner strength and unshakable confidence they need to conquer any challenge life throws their way. Joining us to share his remarkable insights is a true master, martial artist, and a passionate advocate for youth development, Professor Maajid Al-Kush.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about your journey and what led you to your dedication of teaching martial arts and focusing on prevention of bullies of children and adults?
Absolutely. What got me acquainted with martial arts is as a young child, I actually was a victim of bullying in the community. When I was taking out trash for my mother, I got jumped by about 5 other young children, and it was their way of welcoming me into the neighborhood. So after that, I said, listen, I need to do something to be able to defend myself. And at the time, uh, my mother's friend was a very big fan of boxing. So that was my first introduction to self-defense. First started to learn how to box as a child. And then it just evolved to martial arts.
What a welcome you to the community. They beating you up. So how old were you at that time?
I think I was like 10, about maybe 10 or 11 years old. Yeah. And it was quite a shock because, I was originally a country boy. So my mother had moved from the country into town.
Uh-huh.
It's like, hey, this is a country kid. We're going to show him how, us kids in town operate. We're gonna beat him up, catch him while he's taking out the trash. After after I said, okay, I'm gonna use this to strengthen myself and to become better at protecting myself. You fast forward, once I became very proficient with my hands. I saw those same kids, and my whole intention was to, get revenge. But then I saw that they were so fearful because they had heard the news that, hey, I was in the boxing gym learning how to box, and they didn't want any part of that. So when I was able to catch those same kids in the neighborhood, they said, "Hey, listen, man, no, hey, we just want to be friends." That was our way of just, welcome you into the neighborhood because they had heard that I had spent some time training and learning how to box. So they didn't want any of that. And with that, it gave me the confidence that, hey, man, listen, these guys, they didn't even want to fight me just from hearing about me training and learning how to box. So that gave me the confidence I needed to just move forward in life as a kid, not being afraid of anyone.
Oh, all right. Then why do you think bullies are still common, and what can martial arts do to help a child with it?
So bullying both in the adult world and the child world is a major problem.
Uh-huh.
And I believe it stems from the struggles that the person has within. They can't figure out a positive way to overcome those struggles. And what they do, they take their frustrations out on the innocent. Okay. And I think it's a big problem today because you have a lot of access to things more now than you ever had before with the age of social media. And so now, I can bully you and be hundreds of miles away. Whereas back in my day, you had to bully a person in person. You couldn't be in a different state or a different part of the world and just be, bullying a person. So I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the internal things that the child and the adult is holding within themselves and taking that frustration out on the innocent bystander.
The thing is, to me, you never know what a child is going through for them to bully someone, right? You never know what someone
Absolutely.
is going
Yes.
through.
Because you
You
don't know
know,
what they're
it's
dealing with at home. They could be
true.
in a hostile atmosphere, a hostile environment at home. they could have lost a loved one, someone
Right.
that was very close to them, and they just don't know how to properly express themselves, and so they do that, through, unfortunately, taking it out on the innocent person, the person that they look to say, okay, this person is different, or they're weak in their mindset in a certain aspect, right? And so they're gonna go ahead and prey on that, what they see or deem as a weakness.
I know it's so sad what the kids are going through in school, afraid of going through in school, bringing guns. You bully me, okay, I get you back. There are some people who kids would think, I think you said earlier, that sometimes they pick on the innocent, and sometimes to me, when you're a quiet student in school, they take that for weakness sometimes. You might be off to yourself, right?
Right.
You might take this for weakness. But then when you keep coming after them, it's so much a person can take. And then it just explodes.
Mhm.
Gun
Yeah.
violence, everything is going on.
Right.
Knives. I mean, it's hard to be a child or adult these days. It's much harder to be one.
Right.
Don't you think? It's much harder.
Yeah. And when you bring weapons into the picture, you got to think about it. It's because, the weapons give them a false sense of power. Okay. And you'll see this in not just with children, but with adults. It's like, okay, let me get this firearm, let me get this knife. I know I can actually hurt the person, or I can, cause severe damage to the person with this knife or with this firearm, right? Instead of, let me use my hands, or let me use my mind, because you don't always have to resort to, physical violence. You can use your head. I like to call it verbal judo. If you know anything about the art of judo, it is meant to redirect the force, or the level of force that's coming at you. So instead of meeting it head on, that force head on, you redirect or you parry it, so that force doesn't affect you. So you can do that by just using certain words of a reflection, a deflection. So someone say, "Hey, listen, man, you don't have any hair. You bald headed. You ugly." It's like, yeah, I know I'm bald headed, but I don't think I'm ugly. But thank you for the acknowledgement of acknowledging that I'm bald headed. But you just don't buy into the attacks that the person is launching at you. So we call it using verbal judo. You know, they can also come at you and say, "Hey, listen, we just don't like the way you look. You know, we just don't like the way you carry yourself." It's like, you might not like the way I look. You might not like the way I carry myself because I'm different. But I encourage you to check out why I look the way I do and why I carry myself the way I do. You might be surprised. You might be interested on learning out more about me.
How is today bullying different from 30 years ago?
Very different from 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was more so, a lot of teasing. And I don't think every incident of teasing you is a form of bullying. In fact, I think certain forms of teasing helps to make you stronger as an individual. All right. Versus bullying is just like when you don't let up on the person. You just keep going in. Even like I said, you never kick the man when the man is down. The person is down, they're gonna keep going in. Now that's, to me, is bullying. Okay. And it doesn't have to be physical all the time. It could be just with words. So to answer your question, today's bullying doesn't just stop when you leave school. But back in the day, the bullying, once you left school, right, you didn't see that person anymore unless they was in the same community. And even if they was in the same community, they didn't go out their way to pick on you. All right. Now it doesn't stop because we're living in the age of social media, and the kids are locked constantly on their phones and on these apps. And so with that, is 24/7. The person can continue to bully you 24/7 because, as adults, we like, okay, just put down the phone. But today's children don't know how to live without their phone or without the laptop or the desktop or the pad, all these things. It's a part of their daily, everyday life. So they can't just put it down, you know? So they're being they're being subjected to 24/7 bullying, you know? And that's how it's different from 30 years ago, because when you left the schoolhouse, most of the time you didn't see the bully anymore. And you had time to properly prepare yourself, so when you go back to school, to how to address that bully if you worked up the nerves to do so.
Why do you think there's so much overweight and obesity in America with kids?
So for one, I didn't realize until a few years ago that PE was really removed from a lot of your schools and
Is
stuff.
there
Your physical
something?
education, yes.
Why?
It was like a optional thing, but back in our era, you had to do physical education, and it counted as a real grade towards your report card. And now that's an optional thing. Okay, you don't want to be physically active. That's okay. As long as you pass your class, you make you're good, academically wise. And that now you see the person is very smart, okay, or they have very good scores when it comes to academics,
Uh-huh.
but then physically they're overweight or they're morbidly obese. So with that being said, it's like, what good is it for you to have an amazing brain, but you don't have the body to carry out the wonderful thoughts that resides in it? It's a problem. So as much as you invest in your mind, you need to invest in your body. And it needs to be a balance between the two. And I think that more kids need to be more active in going outside and doing more activities outside and putting down the cell phone, putting down
Mm-hmm.
tablets and the laptops. Uh, and this is the reason why you see an increase of weight in young children. I, I mean, I get children that comes in to my dojo and they're like, 5 and 6 years old, and they can't even do 3 laps within the dojo. And my dojo is about 3,200 square feet. And 3 laps around, they've already winded. And we're talking about 5 and 6 year olds,
Oh my word.
5 and 6 year olds. And so, I asked the parent, hey, how they, oh no, they just want to play video games all day. And they all know they would rather watch, cartoons all day. And this is what I mean by going back to what I said earlier about you have to be a parent and not a child's friend. Because a parent would say, listen, you spent enough time on your tablet, you spent enough time on the laptop, you need to go outside and play for at least a couple hours. Okay. And don't come back until you have reached that time. Right. And that's why we see an increase of childhood obesity and adult obesity. There's no physical activity that's taking place. Everybody is busy doing other things outside of being physically active.
So how can we create a better environment and future for the children and ourselves?
I think we can create a better community for our children and ourselves through engaging with each other more, you know, sitting down and talking about, hey, what made you feel this way? Maybe I can change it, or I can express to you what made me feel this way. Because there's not enough direct communication, especially between the elders and the children. Okay. So instead of you making up these stories in your head of what you think, I may be feeling, let me express to you what I'm feeling. So I think it needs to be more open forums of discussion between the youth and between the older adults. And we can share our thoughts about how to make things better within our community, within our household, and amongst the relationship we have with those who we love.
On a personal note, what has been the greatest challenge for you as a martial art instructor and businessman, the greatest challenge?
The greatest challenge, I would say, has been dealing with the parents.
Oh my goodness.
And not all the parents.
No, right.
Just dealing with the parents that's trying to live their life out again vicariously through their children,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
That has been a great challenge, okay? Because we're dealing with a different generation now, okay? And some parents, they're trying to relive their heyday through their children, and your children is not you, okay? They have their own little mind, they have their own way of doing things. The only thing you can do as a parent is to guide them and make sure that they're not doing anything to put themselves in danger. But they have to experience life for themselves. Okay. And I see a lot of parents will come in and they say, listen, I want my child to do this. They have to do this. And I want them to do this. And the child, like, I can look at the child and see the way that they're moving. It's like that child have no interest in that whatsoever. So at my academy, once again, my focus is on teaching the kids good conduct, morals, the basic principles of martial arts, not just winning the medal. When we have a parent to come in and say, listen, I want my son or my daughter to be a world-class champion. I want them to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. They said, because
Ah.
was I was a champion when I was young, and I did this and I did that, and I want little Johnny to do the same. And then you talk to the child, it's like, I just like to do martial arts. I'm not really not interested in competing in tournaments. I just like being inside the dojo with my friends. I like learning new cool things. And then the parents like, yeah, but you need to do this and you need to do that because that's what the parent did when they were younger. So they're trying to live vicariously through their child, and I don't think that that is a good thing when it comes to enrolling a child in any martial arts program. You have to let them experience it for themselves, guide them, but they have their own life to live.
And when you talk about the parents, I want my child to do this and that, and then the child will act out in different ways, you know, against the parent. And the parent, what's wrong with Johnny? What's wrong with Susie? Communicate. Are these parents communicating with these kids by saying, I want my child to do this, I want my child to do that? Do you think they're really communicating with their kids?
No, no, they just figured that, okay, I'm going to put them in this environment with the expectation of them doing these things like I did when I was a kid.
Right.
And you can't have that. That's not open communication. You have to be direct because they're children. So you have to be direct with children. You can't be indirectly with them, you know, it's, especially with this newer generation.
Mm. I don't think I had asked you this question, but what are the age uh that you start with?
I start at 5 years old and
Okay.
we go all the way from 5 all the way to adults. Okay. But they have to be 5 because the attention
Oh.
span of the 5-year-old is challenging enough. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't I can't even fathom trying to teach 3 and 4-year-olds.
Oh my, oh my word. So the kids are 5-year-olds, are they just happy? They think it's fun? How
Yes,
do they feel
it's
about it, the
about
5 year? Uh-huh.
yes, it's
They feel
about
good?
keeping them interested, by making it fun, but also they're learning the essentials of martial arts, how to defend themselves. And they're also learning the essentials of the code of martial arts, which I like to refer to as the Bushido code, learning about, integrity, respect, courage, honor, compassion, honesty, loyalty. All of those things are the codes of martial arts, or the Bushido code.
That makes sense. And, and you teach them that respect of people, So in other words, that being a bully, would not be there, being a
Right.
bully.
Right.
That's
And
the thing. That's very good.
yes, because my I've had the parents will come and ask me. It's like, listen, one of my students, they had gotten pushed by another a child, and the parents like, listen, we bring them here so that they can defend themselves against this. And it was like, we need you to tell them it's okay. It's okay to fight back. And I have to reiterate to the children that, listen, because I have told them so often that you have a great responsibility now that you know how to defend yourself, and so they're so apprehensive because they don't want to necessarily hurt the bully
Right. Mm-hmm.
because they know what they're capable of doing. So I have to reinforce them and reiterate to them that, listen, no, when someone puts their hands on you, okay, by all means defend yourself, okay, but they know what they're capable of doing, so they try not to fight back. But I have to tell them it's okay to fight back when somebody's trying to harm you, okay, or harm someone that you care about and you love.
What final words of advice would you like to share with our viewers today?
So, if you're looking for a martial arts school to enroll your child in, make sure it's for the right reason. Okay. And if it's for self-defense, for the child to learn how to defend themselves, that's great. But make sure they're getting more from the program than that. Make sure they're learning about those principles, and make sure that they implement them in their daily activity. Okay. It's more than just putting your child in a martial arts school and teaching them how to punch, kick, or grapple. They have to learn valuable lessons like, hey, if they do decide to compete, win, lose, or draw, they have good sportsmanship. They don't storm off the mat if they lose with a bad attitude. If they win, they don't gloat over their opponent. These are all the fundamental things that I teach for all the children that enrolls in my program.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Hear that, parents? Okay. Grandparents, guardians. All right. Do you have any upcoming projects, and how can viewers contact you?
Sure. Yes. They can contact me at Team Mongoose BJJ at gmail.com. You can call the dojo direct. It's 678-878-3380. You can also contact us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Just look up Team Mongoose BJJ and you will pop right up. Okay. Um, some upcoming projects. We have a woman self-defense seminar that we're going to be conducting at the aerial gym. It's the ladies that do the aerial acrobats with the
Oh.
in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it's called, but they do the aerial acrobats. We're going to have a woman self-defense course coming up within the next couple of weeks, working with the women there. Mm-hmm.
That sounds great. Well, Professor Al-Kush, I want to thank you again for a great conversation. I've learned a lot from you today. Thank you so much. I should have you on again. I'd like to have you on again. Would you come?
Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
For our viewers at home watching, if you like what you see, subscribe to The Jocelyn Moore Show. Want to be a guest on our show? Head over to our website, www.jmentertainment.info. On the homepage, click on About and follow directions to be a guest. If you have any questions about today's show or past or future shows, just click Contact on our website and submit message. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care and keep watching.